How casual drone pilots became Russian war crime investigators. An unmarked grey automobile accelerates down a motorway outside Kyiv on its way to the Ukrainian capital. As it gets close to a Russian position, it does a sudden U-turn and comes to a stop shortly after. The door is then opened by a man. He is on the ground in less than a second. Welcome to Drone Zone, the channel that brings you the latest, most exciting news and info about drones. In today's video, we talk about how amateur drone pilots are exposing the atrocities made by Russia in Ukraine. So make sure to stay till the end of the video to know how Russia might have a plan to counter this. Oleksandr Radzikovsky, a member of Ukraine's territorial defense troops, said that the man was shot when his hands were lifted over his head. Radzikovsky is a member of the Bugatti Company, a special intelligence collecting unit based on the outskirts of Kyiv that conducts operations around the country. The team used a drone to video the incident on March 7th on the E40, which is a crucial route connecting the western city of Lviv to the capital, Kyiv. Russian soldiers were still in control of the area at the time. As citizens attempt to evacuate a nearby town, Russian tanks can be seen facing east towards Kyiv, the direction in which Russian forces were pushing at the time of the footage's release. According to Radzikovsky, the group of automobiles was fleeing from a small village near Irpin, where they had been stranded for almost 10 days without food, water, or warm clothing. They were completely unaware of what was taking place. They were completely unaware that Russian forces had approached and taken up this position. A Russian tank and Russian soldiers ambushed us, Radzikovsky explained. They started shooting. Following the man's fall to the ground, Russian troops approached the vehicle, which can be seen in the video. Two persons emerged from the automobile, one of whom was later identified as 6-year-old Gordey Yovenko and the other as a female family acquaintance. In an attempt to protect Yovenko from the death that surrounds them, the woman wraps her arms around him. Earlier that day, Yovenko had lost both of his parents, 32-year-old Maxim, who lay lifeless on the ground, and 37-year-old Ksenia, who was shot to death by Russian gunfire while inside the automobile. Russian forces then take Yovenko and the woman into a woodland area where they are captured. During this time, other soldiers search the car and examine Maxim Yovenko's body before hauling him to a safe location off to the side of the road. Radzikovsky's drone unit, which was only 500 meters or 0.3 miles away from the action, captured the entire scenario on film. In his words, "We were able to capture everything, every single instant and detail of that killing. For the time being," he continued, "we have to live with that image in our thoughts." Corpses in various stages of decomposition were scattered along the roadside. Charred bodies were still leaning against the vehicles in which they'd been driving, and the same car seen in the drone footage, which had been completely consumed by fire, was still parked in the same spot as it had been on March 7th. You can tell that this is similar to a shooting range. A certain point has been reached beyond which there are no cars because they refuse to allow them to enter. They simply opened fire as soon as they got close enough, he went on to say. Russian President Vladimir Putin has denied that his country's special military operation in Ukraine has targeted civilians or civilian infrastructure. The government has also dismissed reports of killings in towns such as Bucha, Irpin, and Borodyanka as false news, and it has initiated its own probe into the charges. On the other hand, people reported seeing ruins of a Russian army encampment in the forested area where Yovenko and the woman had been taken captive by the authorities. It was littered with Russian military rations, cash, and abandoned equipment, some of which had V emblems painted on them, evidence that their soldiers had been in that location for around 3 weeks at the time of the attack. Family members said that the Russians later released Yovenko and a family friend who had been detained with them. As a result, Radzikovsky's team has sent video footage of the incident to the Ukrainian prosecutor's office for further investigation, and it has also submitted it to the UK Metropolitan Police Wars Crime Unit, which has also been compiling evidence of war crimes in Ukraine in preparation for a possible future trial. When we see such situations where our cars are burned and individuals inside the cars are fired at and burned, and we see that it is systemic, it is not only war crimes, but it is crimes against humanity, and we will do everything we can to establish it, Ukraine's Prosecutor General Iryna Venediktova said. The harrowing experience has further strengthened Radzikovsky's unit's determination to continue assisting the Ukrainian military with their drone operations. Radzikovsky, a Ukrainian senior software engineer who'd been living in St. Albans, England before the war, said he couldn't sit back and watch while his nation was attacked by Russia. He returned to Ukraine in order to assist in the best way he could in the struggle against the Russian invasion. And the best way to help us get more content out is subscribing to our channel, as this is the only thing that keeps us going. In our normal lives, before the war, we were citizens who enjoyed flying drones in a casual manner and creating entertaining YouTube videos, he explained. However, after the war began, we were able to play an important role in the resistance movement. Their drones fly daily over Russian territory, documenting Russian locations and relaying this information to the Ukrainian military. They refer to us as the eyes because, like eyes, we're able to see. Moreover, if you can detect something and report it, you can launch artillery strikes, he explained, adding that in good circumstances, it takes only minutes from spotting something to striking it. Hours of drone footage of Russian tanks maneuvering through the woods around Kyiv has been supplied by Radzikovsky's team. In one footage, the tanks are struck by Ukrainian fire just moments after they're first spotted on the screen. The unit is a popular operation that relies on store-bought civilian drones. Radzikovsky prefers this way because it's the most comfortable for him. He feels driven to carry on with the project. It's impossible to go any other way. We can't back down because if we did, Ukraine would cease to exist. However, an unanticipated obstacle could derail these brave Ukrainians' efforts. Chinese companies manufacture the majority of low-cost consumer drones, mainly a company called DJI. And the war in Ukraine has put China, which shares Russia's ambitions and viewpoints, in a delicate, unpleasant diplomatic situation. Modern drone firms, like other digital companies, retain significant influence over their products even after they've been sold to a consumer. All DJI drones are shipped with geofencing technology, which means the drone will not work in some sensitive regions across the world, such as parts of Washington and Tiananmen Square. DJI secretly established a geofence around its products in Syria during the height of the crisis with the Islamic State in 2015 and 2016. Many onlookers, understandably, are wondering if DJI will geofence their goods in Russia or Ukraine. While DJI told Fedorov that it would be willing to set up a blanket geofence across Ukraine if asked, the company stressed that it would apply to all DJI drones in Ukraine, not just those flown by Russian forces. Although DJI has officially said that the Chinese government has no influence on its decisions, there is evidence to suggest that this is not the case. However, both DJI and China are unlikely to want to be accused of backing either Ukraine or Russia in the current situation. Moreover, the firm does not want to make any moves that might imply it supports its products being used on the battlefield. It highlighted in its response to Fedorov that its devices are intended for civilian usage and that the visibility built into them is one additional reason why employing them for military purposes is unacceptable. As DJI will undoubtedly argue, implementing a geofence would cause China political issues while making little difference on the battlefield. Geofences aren't perfect. They're designed to dissuade folks who are technically inept or simply unaware of drone rules in their area. A plethora of companies provide hacks and methods to circumvent them. One such company even offers free services to those who can verify they live in Ukraine or Russia. Small drones have shown to be an enormously helpful weapon for all participants in current combat zones, and they will be with us for a long time to come. Pilots can safeguard themselves by taking various precautions, such as keeping the mobile devices that link to the drone in airplane mode at all times, but they must be aware that these precautions exist. It's now up to the international community to ensure that those who use them in times of war, civilians and fighters alike, are fully aware of the risks they entail. That's it for today's video. Let me know if you think China can or will choose to affect the drone situation in Ukraine. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video just like I've enjoyed making it, and make sure to comment with any future videos that you're interested in watching. I'll be seeing you all soon, but until then, watch this video to learn more about the Terminator drones used by the Ukrainian military. And as always, subscribe or crash.